Hello, welcome to How to Automotive. Today's video is about a topic on working on classic cars in your general repair shop. Is it a good idea for you, or should you pass and move on to another vehicle? So stay tuned for that. So is it a good idea to work on classic cars at your shop? That's going to depend on a couple factors. First, I wanted to talk about some red flags that come up when a new customer comes to you asking you to work on his car. So if you've never worked on the customer's regular car, his day-to-day car, and he comes and asks you to work on his classic car, he just pulls up out of the blue, that probably means that he's been shopping around looking for somebody to work on his car, or he's possibly hard to deal with. And the shops that he was working with before have chosen not to work on his car. So that could be a red flag, and I've noticed that to be true in the past. So if they come in, they tend to be a little on the difficult side. So I find that those type of customers that you don't know, they tend to be really picky, they tend to be in a hurry, and they want their car done, and they just don't understand that classic cars are not vehicles that you can just quickly order up a part, slap it on there, and get them down the road. It takes time. Sometimes it takes time to research and find parts. Sometimes it takes time to fabricate parts from scratch. Just depends on the type of car that you're working on. So those type of customers that are not really car people, but they just inquired a classic car, they don't have a full grasp of that. And those type of people, I would recommend that you not work on those vehicles, and and ask those customers to find a specialty shop. Now that brings up the next topic. Because you're not a specialty classic car shop, that means that you're going to have this car possibly in your bays for long periods of time, waiting on parts, or while you're fabricating parts. And the charge for that stuff is a little different than charging for your day-to-day cars, where you can go look up in a book, there's a labor time, here it is. Everything is custom, so the labor times are custom, the parts are custom, and so that's something you would want to definitely consider when taking in a classic car. So if you're not used to working on those type of vehicles on a day-to-day basis, it could really slow you down. So you could have that nice classic car in your bay, but then, stuck on parts or waiting on customer okay or whatever, because it's a custom car, custom prices, custom everything. And you may have a bunch of regular work come in and you can't get to it, or it's difficult to get to it because you got this classic car in the way. Another drawback to having a classic car in your shop is you get a ton of looky-loos. These people want to constantly come and look at the car, ask you all kinds of questions on the car. You may not know the history of the car. And so you'll have to constantly worry about the car. Like, is it going to get door dinged? Is it going to get scratched? So those are things you want to consider when you're working on classic cars and they're in your shop. You're responsible for that vehicle, and if things happen to it, are you willing to have it painted again? Say if it got a dent or something on the fender, or a customer backs into it, in your parking lot. Are you willing to take on that risk of getting that car back to par the way the customer had it? So that's something to consider. If you're willing to do those type of things, you may want to take it in. If you're slow, possibly might want to take it in. If you need to attract customers, that may be a good way to have. Seeing a nice classic car in your shop may actually attract customers, so that could be a benefit. So these are all things you might want to consider when it comes to working on classic cars in your particular automotive shop. So another thing I wanted to talk about is the young technicians. Young technicians are super excited to work on classic cars because it's different than the day-to-day car, and then also maybe the reason why they got into the automotive field in the first place is they had a classic car, or their dad had a classic car, and they worked on it. But here in the shop, when you're working on classic cars, especially on like flat rate shops, it doesn't really work. You can't charge flat rate hours for custom classic cars like that. So you may actually lose money by working on those vehicles. So as a young technician, I would resist working on those cars in the shop. Now on the side, at a leisure pace, that's a different story, and I'm all for that. And I would recommend you do that, on the side, not in a day-to-day basis in your shop. So that's something to consider too. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. I'm Brian Esser from How To Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, encourage you to subscribe, invite you to head over to the howtoautomotive.com website for more valuable videos like this. Thank you again for watching.